All right. So these first six really have been what you've been doing in your class activities. So building a plans book, what I'm seeing you do is essentially build out a PowerPoint. If you prefer to do individual PDFs or images in Illustrator or Photoshop, that's fine. PowerPoint gives us a way to bring it all together, even pages. If you work with pages, fine as well. I think there's actually more creative possibilities with pages on the Mac, but I've done PowerPoint for a long time, so I just get lazy to learn a new piece of software. So these first six things, so build a creative campaign for the client. So that's where you introduce us to the client. That really, each one of these numbers can be a slide. If you wanted it to operate as an outline, each one of these numbers is a slide in your PowerPoint. So first is who's the client. You can show their logo. I'd like to have a little history, kind of, when I ask you, I think I asked you guys the question of what's their business, what do they do? You can tell that's where that happens. Then number two, second slide, define the USP of their product, service, experience, whatever, of your client. And we tried to work through that. And I gave you some feedback on those different things. And I'll jump back in there and see if anybody has added anything that I need to comment on some more. So you've done that. Then you've done at least primary audience, primary, secondary audience. Each one of those can be a slide using the persona template. I really want you to use that template and to have that information. It's a lot of information, but it's going to help you farther down. So then with 1 and 2, we know about the company. With 3.1 and 3.2, we know about your audience. Then number 4 is for the campaign, for your creative campaign. What's your big idea? What is it you're trying to communicate? What is this about your client that you want to communicate to this audience? That's the big idea. Then next is your approach. So is it going to be emotional? Is it identity? Are you trying to change the world? Are you doing attention? Or are you trying to do mind share, where you just, when they think of whatever this thing is, you want them to think of this product? We have also done that, and I've given feedback on that as well. Then the one I believe you've been working on is writing a slogan. So if that's taking the big idea and getting it down into a memorable statement. This is a campaign-based slogan. So if the company has a slogan in general, Nike Just Do It is the obvious one. But they do, even Nike is a great example because they do slogans for individual campaigns. They connect back to who Nike is and to Just Do It, but each one has its own big idea that drives the creative and the other things. Like they've done every person sport for everyone. So you had all kinds of different people. They've had some campaigns that focused on women's sports, different things, and they had a slogan for it. Not as memorable as Just Do It, but it was there. And if it spoke to you, you remember. If it was trying to speak to you, you remember. So that's the slogan. So those are the first pages of the PowerPoint. Now, I've called them still frame advertisements. I mean, if we did this, I could call this A, plans book, B, still frame advertisements. Now, okay, first thing you're going to do, this is going to be your core execution. And execution is making the big idea manifest, making it into something actual. The slogan does that first. That's really kind of your first execution, is to have that slogan. But then once you have that slogan, it is going to be a part of every other execution that you do. So it's, the big idea is the idea, and then it turns into an execution in a slogan, and then we start executing with different media on different platforms, your idea, the campaign, remembering that the campaign connects the big idea to the audience for the benefit of the client. Okay, we're not doing massive goals or anything, but we're trying to focus on the creative side here. So first thing is create a poster, going way back to the first project. This poster can be photographic, it can be graphic, you can draw it, you can build it out. It needs to be a poster that is communicating that big idea, needs to have the slogan on it, needs to have obviously the client's name on it, some hashtags and handles, so it needs to be connecting all the pieces together. These visuals in this poster, A3 size, so that it could be like a poster, or it could be the basis of what's going to happen down at the bottom with a billboard, okay? But this is where you start, and because it is made, this platform is really made for people to walk by, for people to drive by, for it to be in a place where there's a lot of movement. So there's less text. It's more specific to that image needs to grab, that image needs to draw us in and maybe slow us down to take a closer look. Or if it's in a place where we see it repeatedly and we walk past it or drive past it, then we would be interested the next time and we would remind ourselves, hey, when I drive by that place, I hope that poster's still there because I'm really kind of interested in seeing what it says. So that's what a good poster is. Next, you take that poster, essentially reduce it down in size to an A3 that makes it like a magazine ad or something you could put in a newspaper, or it's more traditional print, smaller. People have more time, they're flipping through the pages, they can stop on it. So the addition here is some text explaining. That text amplifies the slogan and communicates the big idea. So it is, you know, why do I want to go there? Why do I want to be their customer? Why, you know, what is it about them that's so cool? It needs to connect in with the graphics and visuals you've done, and hopefully it needs to be well written and interesting even on its own in terms of what is written. Sorry. Okay. So that's the print advertisement. And then, so each one of those, all it requires is a single screen, a single slide. Then you're going to do Instagram posts just like we did before. Okay. Maybe that's a result of getting my vaccination. Now I sneeze. Okay. So Instagram post, using the fake Instagram maker. Key thing here is to be sure to put your hashtags and your handles need to go into the post itself. They don't stay on the visual. That's not the right place when you're doing an Instagram post. So you're doing the same thing before, where what you're doing is you're reworking those elements for Instagram as a platform. Then we look at the moving image storyboard. This has been the only class activity that has not been directly related to your final campaign. So here what you're doing is but that is giving you the practice and seeing the way that spot is made. That it's actually 2 minutes long. I'm only asking you to do 12 frames of it, but you are going to be creating a storyboard for a 30-second video. So I have mandated, and I'm asking you to give me at least 15 storyboard frames. Now, the way I would structure this in a PowerPoint is you give a slide to each one of those pages with the 6 frames on it. Okay? Now, on every shot, you can see on it, there's lines underneath, and that is where you write these next pieces of information. So you're gonna say this, okay? Music, soft, emotional, something like that. Natural sounds, the forest, birds, water running, trains running, whatever it is, sounds from the environment. sound effects, clangs, you know, creaks, whatever it is. And then if there's any spoken word, whether spoken by the people on camera or spoken as a voiceover, those words. So that's quite a bit of information that goes in there. Then also describing field of view, wide shot, the whole environment. Okay. I have on that class activity, I do have some things that explain this to you that you can look at. Wide shot is whatever the main subject is in its environment. So you don't focus on the subject, you also focus on the environment. When you go to a medium shot, if it's a person, that's a medium shot, okay, is a bus shot, where the emphasis is on the person, the dog, the cat, the whatever, okay, and that's the subject. And then you have close-up, which is details of that, details of anything. There's some close-ups that are closer than others. You want to try to mix these shots where you go from wide shot to medium to close-up. Close-ups together are generally fine, but then you could go wide, medium, close-up, medium, close-up, and then you could go wide, okay? This is very basic. We don't have the time to teach video. Okay, then the last thing I want to know is, will it just stay still? Will the camera move in closer? Will the camera move side to side, up and down, something like that? Or will the camera move back? But just as much as you can. I'm going to give you tolerance on those last two, okay? The key is that these pictures work in a logical progression in the shots and that they tell a story. You are telling a story, the story visually and with motion of your big idea for your client, okay? The frames can be drawn. I'm not gonna pass any judgment on that. I can't draw. I would draw stick figures or something, no judgment on ability. You can use photos. If you wanted to sort of shoot photos of what the different things would look like, just still images. I am not asking, number 7, you do not have to make the video. There's no bonus for making the video if you want to do that, okay? There's no specific numeric bonus for that. Okay, so you could also use clip art. I have examples in the instructor's teaching materials. You'll see 4 example storyboards that are some different approaches. I know that for the lexicon, you have used some applications that help you draw. You can do the same thing here for the different frames, that's fine. Or even if you wanted to create people in like bit emojis, different size, you know, different people, and you could, you know, take them into Illustrator, into Photoshop, and sort of bring them together in an image that keeps you from having to draw badly. I would do something like that. So it's just, these frames need to give an idea of the shot. The information below gives a little more information so that the story can be seen. There are good examples. All 4 of those examples are related to urban excursion, Murphy's Law, as a client. So that's what you're doing. You need to be sure that you can use this video on different platforms, traditional, digital, social. Could it be on TV? Could it be on YouTube, Vimeo, things like that? Could it be on Instagram? Could you put it on, you know, maybe on TikTok? I guess TikToks are always vertical, so that might be a little bit different. So that's the idea. You only have to do the storyboard. You only have to plan it. Storyboard is a document that gets the plan going. Now, next, okay, so that was C. Then D are the social media elements of your campaign. And this one is gonna have each one of these. So 11.1 is gonna be a slide where you say, here are the 3 platforms that are most of interest to our audience. This is where we can reach our audience. So platforms are TikTok, platforms are Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I know you guys don't use Facebook, but your audience might. I don't know. Could be Snapchat, could be even LinkedIn could ultimately be a platform. WhatsApp is not a platform. You can push things out on WhatsApp, but that's not what this is about. Okay, so you can choose 3 platforms and give just a little brief explanation why. How is this going to connect? So this is not yet an execution. Identify 3 influencers. I'd like to see a picture of them. I'd like to hear see the person's name, maybe have their handle of wherever they're influencing, and then give a little tiny explanation of why those would be good influencers. So give me 3 influencers, and then choosing what media to emphasize in social. Are you going to do stills, just single frames like you've done above? Is it going to be video? Are you going to try to do a whole bunch of different videos? Looped videos, that's what I'm calling TikToks. Also on Instagram, it's now called Reels, which are the shorter forms, not super short, but they're shorter than an Instagram TV video. So people don't have to click away and it's just a loop. Are you thinking live? Are you thinking stories? What I'm calling stories are what Instagram means by it. Snapchat invented it and they disappear over time. Okay, and then carousels, multiple still images. You can do multiple pictures in, apparently you can do about 4 pictures in Twitter. Obviously in Facebook, you can do multiple pictures. YouTube doesn't really apply those sorts of things, but what media are you going to emphasize? So by saying media, it doesn't mean one, it could be multiple. What media are you going to put up on your platforms? Then I want you to create another social media ad. Remember the first one was up here, number 9. You're going to create another one in 11.4. It's in addition to the one above. So it needs to connect, absolutely connect, but it needs to be a little different. So it might be for a different platform, different form of social media. So I've written there, you may adapt your moving image or single frame executions within that additional social media ad. Remember, visually, verbally, sound-wise, everything, these things need to connect with one another. If I see one and I've seen another, I need to, in my head, understand that they connect. Okay, so the next thing is out of home elements, OOH, so that's E. 5 major categories. So out of home elements, first one is I want you to mock up an Abu Dhabi billboard for the campaign using a real billboard space found in Abu Dhabi. So what I'm saying is go out for a drive. You don't have to get out of the car unless you can't see out of the car. But from the car, you can take a picture of a billboard. You could take a picture of the Adneck overpass. You can see a billboard somewhere. You could take pictures of banners on one of the bridges, all those sorts of things. But I want it to be a real Abu Dhabi thing. Then what you do is you erase the content inside, like in Photoshop or even in Illustrator. You put them together and you put your ad into that for a billboard. So a billboard is something you drive by, walk by, etc. It's larger, has to be more like the poster. Less text. People don't have time. They're driving. They don't have time to read all that text. And then the second thing we're going to do, I'm going to talk about this on Sunday, is an ambient native guerrilla type campaign. So something that's a little different, a little more creative. I'm going to show you ones from all over the world, and I'll show you some examples that students have done. So that'll be the last time I'm going to talk about something or introduce a new idea. So then I've given you on here as well how your file naming protocol, which is your team name, client name, PPPT for the PowerPoint, and I want you to save it in a PDF. Then I want the different executions you've made that are in the PowerPoint okay, in smaller versions, and they have to fit the PowerPoint space, but I want you to give me original files of those. And I want you to put them all in a folder. Let's hope this works. Put them all in a folder and then zip that folder. Then you upload them. The first upload you're going to do is going to be on the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, okay? And that is a week from today. Now, this is the draft. It has to be in by midnight. And if it's in before midnight, it's 100. If it's not in before midnight, it's 0. It's 2% of the grade. So that's 2 points against the final 100. Okay. And I don't anticipate that your number 13 will be totally developed because you will have had less time to work on it. When you have a little bit of time left over in this class, won't be a lot, you should be working on all of these. You should be getting these pieces together over the weekend. You're going to do that in the draft, and on the draft, you will be marked on submission. Then I will give you comments on content. I'm not marking it, but I'm going to give you advice, ideas, insights to improve the final product. Now, because we have Eid coming up, because we have the last week of Ramadan coming up, I have moved the due date to the 17th of May, which will be after Eid and right at the beginning of final exams. So that is when you will submit the final that will be graded for all the content. Okay, and the content includes all these things that are listed here. Wait, looks like I've missed the chat. Sorry. Okay. Okay. All right, everybody writing nice stuff. Okay. Yeah, I've changed it to the 17th. The final is on the 17th. You're not going to use one of their videos. You're making up your own video. You're not deconstructing for this project. You are devising. If you look at the 4 examples that I've posted, you'll get the idea. Storyboards for 4 ideas. Okay, so you're not using the video created by the client. No, you're making one that fits into your campaign. Okay. Huh?
Doctor, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the 15th of May, we kind of present to get your feedback after submitting the draft.
Yeah, I'm on the 5th. What you said, the 15th.
Oh, on the 5th, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you're putting it in by midnight, and then I will give you feedback. So that is just about putting it in, and I will give you feedback on whatever's there within a week's time. Then you'll have another week to work on that. I mean, I'll try to get it as quickly as possible. Okay? Any other questions? All right, so